Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to go through the process whereby we set up a Google form in order to record some conversations, observations, document learning, give descriptive feedback. We're going to set up the process where we create that form and link it to our Google Docs so that we have one Google Doc for each specific student related to that form. Okay, so we'll just go through the process by which we set that up. If you need more ins and outs about this afterwards, please don't hesitate to give me a call or email at any time. So first thing you need to do for sure is you need to have a Google or a Chrome account. If you don't have one of those, it's pretty easy. Just go to google.com and sign up. When you do that, you're going to want to come to your Google Drive. Okay, so it looks something like this. You see this little yellow, green, and blue triangle. The other way to get to it is you click your Apps button. You'll go to this screen, at which point you can click on that same triangle. It will take you into your Google Drive. Now, yours might be a little more empty than mine is. Either way, we're going to do this in the exact same way. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into My Drive, which is right at the top of the screen. We're going to click the drop down, and we're going to create a new folder. Okay, so if you're at the start of the semester, maybe you have 3 classes, you want to create a folder for each of your 3 classes. If you're an elementary school teacher, maybe you just want to call it Mr. Hankinson 2016, have the year on it so that it's organized. Okay, so we'll create that folder. Okay, and I'm going to store everything else in there that's related to that. Okay, so I'll go into Mr. Hankinson 2016. Within this folder, I need to, again, I'll go up to where my folder is titled here. I'm going to create a new folder within that folder. Okay, and I'll call this whatever you want. Now, this is where I'm going to create a folder to put all of my student documents for a particular thing. Now, if I'm doing multiple Google Forms, I'm probably going to want to have a different folder with student files for all of those associated to all of those different forms. So maybe one for learning skills, one for Unit 1, Unit 2, etc. Just so that they're all separated. So here we'll just say this is learning skills. And I'm just going to say 2 because I know I have another folder and I'm not going to be able to find it if I don't do that. Okay, so we'll just say learning skills 2 and we'll create that. If you are creating multiple folders, what you might want to do at the start of the year is just set up a template so that you have a blank document for every student. Then what you can do is you can copy all of those documents into each of these other successive folders. If you don't create that template and you don't have blank documents, then what you're going to have to do when you moving forward is you're going to have to create documents again from scratch or go back and delete stuff. So it's probably the easiest way. If I was doing this for the first time, start of the semester, I would set up a template and then copy all of those files into successive folders. Okay, but either way, here we are. We got Mr. Hankinson 2016 folder. We have a learning skills folder within that. Now we're going to go into that folder and we're going to put a document for every single student that we want to collect evidence for in here. Okay, so this is where the Google Docs are going to go. So in order to do that, the easiest way that I think I've found is we're just going to click New Google Doc and it's going to open a new tab. I just realized that I've hidden the tab here, so I'll try and pull that up a little bit. Uh-oh, what did I do? Anyways, okay, so you can see I have a new tab open there at the top. I'm just going to title this this document, so I'll call that Peter, and you'll see here as I'm working through it, it's saving, it's saving, it's saving, it's saving, all changes saved. When I see that, I know I can close this document, and my document for Peter will show up here in my learning skills file. And now what I need to do is I have to keep creating these documents. But once you have one, it's pretty easy to create the other. So all we're going to do is right-click. We're going to make a copy. Okay, and once you have 2 documents, it's pretty easy to just say, so click one of them, hold down Control and click the other one. Now when I make a copy, it's going to copy both of those. So now I should have 4 documents. Okay, and you keep doing that as many times as you need to until you have one for every student in your class. Then when you do that, once you have that, you just have to go back in here and rename. So Peter, I've got Quinn, I've got Romeo, and Sierra. Okay, so I have 4 students in my class. Obviously, you're going to keep doing that more, but you get the idea. You need a Google Doc for every single student. Okay, once that's set up, we have blank documents, don't have to do anything within those documents. We're going to go back up one folder, so we'll just go over to Mr. Hankinson 2016, and we're going to create our Google form in here. Okay, you can really do it wherever you want, but I want to do it in here so it's all in that one folder. Okay, so we're going to click on New, we're going to go down to More, and we're going to go up to Google Forms. That'll pop open a new window, and we'll just call it something. So we'll say this is for learning skills, right? Because chances are pretty good that you know, we're going to have multiple forms and multiple folders. So we'll just associate this particular form with the folder for learning skills. Okay, now you're going to write your questions, and you can write as many questions as you want, but one of those questions should be the student name. Okay, because what we need to do is we need to push all of our data into each of those files. So that's the question that we're going to do the little trick on. But we're not going to fill anything in. I don't actually have to go in here and say Peter, Quinn, Romeo, and Sierra. We're going to take care of that later. Okay, so don't enter anything into that, but we can keep going. We can keep moving on. We want to make sure that's a multiple choice question. We'll keep moving on. We'll say we're going to add a question here. Let's add, just give you another, let's say it's a linear scale question. So we're going to go from 1 to 5, where 1, let's say 1 to 4, where 1 is needs improvement to be in alignment with our report card stuff, and we'll say that 4 is excellent. Okay, again, you can make this a required question or not, probably not something you need to do necessarily. And what is this for? This could be for initiative for the day. Again, you can make one of these for every single working skill, initiative, responsibility, etc., etc., and then you could have a level, linear scale. Then let's add another question, because maybe we want to add some anecdotal remarks, which you could then type in, or if you have this on your phone, we could do the voice to text thing to make it really easy. We'll make this a paragraph response so that there's a long response there. So we have a multiple choice question. We haven't populated the names. You can put as many of these other types of questions as you want. You can put an anecdotal remarks question. Any of those, we're just creating your form. You can go back and do more of that later. Okay, but now we have to do the trick so that when we fill this form out, it's going to push to each of those Google Docs that I created in this file folder. Okay, so let's go through that process. First thing you need to do is you have to get what's called an add-on. So add-ons are third-party apps or extensions that work in conjunction with Google Forms to kind of make them better. Okay, so this one, you'll see this puzzle piece up at the top of my page that says add-ons. If you've never added an add-on before, you won't have that puzzle piece there. So what you'll have to do is go over to this 3 buttons here, click it, go down to the bottom where it says add-ons. You'll get a pop-out, at which point we need to find the add-on called DocAppender. Okay, so if you scroll down, there it is right there, DocAppender. You hover over it. It's going to have a little blue button here at the bottom, kind of like this, where you can click and install it for free. Okay, well, once you do that, this puzzle piece will show up, and you'll have a list of all of the add-ons that you've added to your Google Forms. So we'll click the DocAppender one. It'll say open in sidebar, which is what we want to do. We'll do all our work over here on the side, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to attach this form to those files that we created earlier. First thing it'll ask you is which folder. We can create a new folder, which was something we could have done. We could have just jumped right in here, but when you preload it, you have the ability to copy old files and stuff like that. I think it's just a little bit easier to create the folder ahead of time. So we'll go into our drive and we'll pick the file that we want, or the folder that we want. Learning Skills 2 is what I called it. So we'll highlight it in blue and then we'll select it. You'll see it shows up here. Great. Let's go to the next step. Next step is we want to select a question to populate with these 4 documents. Okay? And you'll see you drop it down and you go, oh, there's no questions. What did I do wrong? Well, for some reason, every time you go in, you have to refresh the list. Once you click that button and we drop down this menu, it'll give you a menu of all of the available questions. You'll notice there's only one question there. Why does only one question satisfy that? Because we can only do this for a multiple choice or a drop-down list type question. Okay, so these other ones, which are ranking, scales, and paragraph, you can't use this little DocAppender app with. So you got to make sure when we did that name question that it was multiple choice. Now what we're going to do is we're going to save and populate the selected question. What you'll see is those names, those 4 names, will show up as potential responses here for the name. Okay, click it, wait a second, there's the 4 names. That's good. Okay, when you see that, we'll click next. Now we have to figure out what do we want to push from this form into each of those documents. So a lot of people like to have the time. They'll give you the time and date that you filled it up. We can skip the name because each file is already titled with the student name. We don't need the name in the chart taking up space. Everything else generally is going to be included. Why would you put it on the form if you didn't want to include it? And then the last thing is you have to figure out how you want these responses organized. The best one, in my opinion, is the horizontal table, so you get them all in that table separated. If you want separate vertical tables, whatever you want, play around with those. I'm going to suggest that one for now. Then we're going to click Enable. Okay, and once we do that, there we go. We've enabled it. The blue button is gone that says Enable. I don't need DocAppender anymore. Okay, so I'm going to close it. Before I do, I'm going to note that I clicked for the timestamp to show up in my Google Docs. But one little trick we have to do in order for that timestamp to show up is we actually have to, in Google Forms, what we can do is we can set it up so that each of these responses also goes into what's called a Google Sheet. Okay, so we have to set that up, otherwise the timestamp won't push to our Google Docs. So we'll click this little tab up here that says Responses. Right here, this is the little symbol for a Google Sheet. So we'll click that, create a new spreadsheet. Let's create that. That's good. There's my spreadsheet. It opens up a new tab, and if I actually go back into my Google Drive, my folder, you'll actually see that spreadsheet side by side with my form. And every time I fill out the form, it's going to populate this spreadsheet as well. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go back, fill out our form, and make sure that we did this correctly. Okay, so in order to do that, if you're on your desktop, what we'll click is the little I. If you want help in setting this up on your phone or your mobile device so that you have it right there and accessible very easy, I can help you with that, but we'll do that at a different time. Okay, so we'll click the preview, which will pop open a new tab. The other thing you can do, there's a lot of other stuff with Google Forms. You can change the purple to a different color. A lot of design features that you can get into as well. But for the purposes here, we're going to go down. We'll just fill out the form. We'll say Peter had excellent working skills today. We'll type in our anecdotal responses. Started his work without my prompting. Okay, we'll say submit. It tells you that we've submitted it. You can submit another response, obviously, there if you want. Let's go look and make sure it worked. First thing we can do is look at the spreadsheet, and every time we fill out the form, no matter whose name is there, it's going to keep populating this spreadsheet. But we're more interested in, did it actually go in Peter's document? So let's go back into this folder. You'll see there's something in the table there for Peter. The timestamp showed up, which is good as well. And now we have a record of that. And every time I go back and fill it in for Peter, I could go do it again quickly now, submit another response. Peter needs improvement, submit. I don't even need to have an anecdotal record. I'll go back to his document. There it is again. And I can keep populating that as many times as I want. So that, in 15 minutes, is how you set up those Google Docs and the associated forms so that they're linked together. Again, if you want some setup on your mobile device, or if there's something that wasn't quite clear here as to how it works, or I went too fast through something, please don't hesitate to email or call me at any time. My email address is right there, so if you need to get a hold of me, please just email me at any time. Okay? Hope this helped. Bye-bye.